Curtis Blaydes, I mean, I thought this performance was outstanding. I really did. Did I have a different opinion? Was that not an entertaining match? Because what I saw, I thought was great. He came out, he did what he said he was going to do, which was to tackle him and out wrestle him. Okay, fine. Whether he said he was going to do it or not, I don't know if that's totally relevant. I think you can look at that fight and realize, well, you got a longer reach guy who's striking heavy against a college wrestling champion. This seems pretty straightforward in terms of that regard. But the whole idea that you're the better wrestler and you can take a guy down, that was a really good idea in 1993. That was even a good idea all the way through 1997. It's not the same now. Guys know how to get up. Guys know how to protect themselves. Guys know how to offer threats from the bottom. So changing that one dimension may help you in not having to deal with some punches and some kicks, but there's just a lot more going on. The fact that Curtis could do it and he could do it for 25 minutes, I thought he looked great. I had a really different opinion than some of the things that I read. First off, you have the heavyweight class, which is the perennial class in all of combat. You can ask Hulk Hogan, you can ask Muhammad Ali. The heavyweight class matters, right? So you have two heavyweights, two top 10 heavyweights. I mean, there's a reason they're headlining the card. They're headlining the card because they're the big boys and they got the highest rankings next to their name. You now start to have questions such as 5 rounds. How is Curtis going to do in 5 rounds? How is Volkov going to do in 5 rounds? We don't know. Turns out they both did great. I mean, Volkov looked great. He really did. And most people share that opinion. Go, wow, this guy's a really good fighter. And yeah, he had some positional problems. He had a hard time stopping Curtis from taking him down. But every time Volkov got up, he went for those strikes. He did not waste time. He was throwing punches. He was throwing kicks. I mean, he was doing the math in his head saying, look, if I want to be in the stand-up, but I'm having a hard time forcing the fight to stay here, then I need to optimize this time. And he did that. I mean, he did everything he could do to win the fight in the areas that he felt he could win the fight. I think we all came away with the opinion that Volkov looked really good. But if we have the opinion that Volkov looked really good and he was the second placer in a contest of 2, don't we then by default, if nothing else, have to also admit that Curtis looked really good? I mean, not only did Curtis beat a top 10 fighter, in a main event, win all 5 rounds, deal with some adversity, lost a round in there. According to some of the judges, he lost 2 rounds. It was 3 rounds to 2. That's not what I saw, but let's set that aside. It was a hard fight, and he set a record while doing it. Had the all-time heavyweight fight record for takedowns. I understand that takedowns aren't necessarily what the viewer is looking for or the viewer necessarily cares about, but you got to concede back to me. It was a record. In a main event that went all 5 rounds against a top 10 heavyweight. I'm looking and go, man, I'm pretty impressed here. Now, Curtis, when I watch him, I could be very critical of some of the X's and O's. He makes some very big mistakes. He is very, very green in certain areas, particularly on top. I mean, he will work himself back into guard. He will jump back to guard when he's halfway past it because he's lost in the position. He's more comfortable in the guard. But there's ways and things that he could do. He's grabbing the head and pulling it up as opposed to posting on the chin and pushing away. Just by example, there is things that he is doing that can be fixed. When you look at a guy who's ranked number 3 in the world, who's still making mistakes and visibly has room for growth, that's a very scary thing. If he was a finished product and wherever that takes you, it's going to take you, and it's probably going to take you pretty far, but you still got a ceiling on it. I can see things watching him that can be worked on in the practice room to make his game grow even more, 15 to 20%. Could you imagine? Could you tell me anybody else in the world in any division, men's, women's, weight class, do it any way you want, that could grow 15 to 20% with some physical adjustments, with some tactical changes? I don't know that you could. Most of the guys in the top 10 are a pretty finished product. They're working on maintaining. Their years of skill building and growth are long behind them. I look at Curtis Blaydes and go, man, I'm not sure we don't have a diamond in the rough here. As well as he does, he's very good with range. He's very good with the distractions, change elevation, hit that George St. Pierre double. I mean, very similar to the way that George hit it in terms of sets it up with a jab for a distraction, comes in. As good as he's doing, as well as he does some things, guys, I'm telling you, there is 15 to 20% growth. that he still has. I don't know that there's anybody else in any division that's ranked number 3 that can say that. I think that's exciting. I mean, I think that's a really exciting thing. Now, Curtis was upset at the post-fight press conference. He brought up a point. He said, man, they put me with Junior Dos Santos. They put me with Volkov. All these guys are ranked behind me. When am I going to get somebody ranked in front of me? And he was legitimately irritated about that. Curtis, real simple math. When you're ranked number 3, there aren't many guys in front of you. In your specific division, you have Ngannou, who you fought twice, and then you have Stipe and Cormier, who are already doing business with one another. So there just isn't anybody else to fight. I mean, just to answer Curtis's question, since he asked, when am I going to get this? Just to answer his question, you got a pretty high ranking. It's kind of one of those spots. And in all fairness, if you get to what you want, which is the championship, you're never going to fight anybody ahead of you. Because there is no such thing. Curtis Blaydes is in a very good spot. He might be irritated. He might even irritate you. But if you want to be fair and look at this with an open mind, you've got an athlete who isn't going anywhere for a meaningful period of time.